Welcome to the Thriving Farmer Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kilpatrick. Our mission is to inspire, educate, and celebrate sustainable farming. We believe that you can build a profitable, sustainable farm that gives you true farm freedom. Join us as we talk to farmers, innovators, educators, and entrepreneurs to glean their top takeaways in business and life. Hey, Thriving Farmers, Michael Kilpatrick here for another episode of the Thriving Farmer Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Ethan Norvell, who is the greenhouse manager at Salad Days Produce, an 18,000 square foot hydroponic lettuce operation located in Flora, Mississippi. Salad Days grows a variety of lettuces year-round in an NFT, nutrient film technique, recirculating system. Ethan and the Salad Days team is committed to growing healthy food in Mississippi and the surrounding region. Ethan, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Michael. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Tell me a little bit about the operation. What kind of different crops do you grow?
So we are completely a hydroponic lettuce operation.
Okay.
We have transitioned to this point that we're at now of just lettuce in the past year, really. In July of 2019, we took out our last crop of tomatoes.
Okay.
And there were several things that led us to that path. The writing was on the wall, and I can get further into that, but so we're all lettuce now, all 18,000 square feet, and it's all NFT.
All right. So talk to us about the tomatoes. When you pulled those out, was just that being a mixed operation wasn't profitable? Was there plenty of local tomatoes that were making your profits not work for that system, or?
Yeah. So there were two. Well, in my head, I kind of bring it down to two key things that made the most sense. So for one, we had a growing interest in the lettuce. Mm-hmm. And at the time we did not have enough lettuce in production, basically. So obviously at the time it was half and half. The square footage was split half and half, 9,000 square feet lettuce, 9,000 square feet tomatoes. And for I guess probably about most of that last of that year of that last crop, we increasingly had more people wanting lettuce, more new customers wanting lettuce, and existing customers wanting more lettuce than tomatoes. And so it was kind of one of those things where you're like, okay, how do we, we only have so many positions in this space, and it's not like we can just till up another area and drop in some lettuce. And so the writing kind of started, we kind of started hinting at it. And I mean, we would have probably a year prior, 2018, we would have never dreamed of not having tomatoes. It's something that the founders, the owners, the operators of the farm, Lee and Jamie, it was just something that they, when you think of salad, you think of lettuce and tomatoes. It's just something that works. And so there was the increasing demand for lettuce. And then the other thing is that it was our best crop of tomatoes that we had produced. And I believe it was my fourth crop of tomatoes with them. And it was the best crop of tomatoes I'd ever seen. We spent a lot of time, a lot of labor on them. At least one person had to be manning the tomatoes every day doing something. And we really dug in, got some things locked in, got our environmental controls locked in a lot better than what they had been in past crops. Got our spraying regimen down. It was just, we were doing all the right things all the right time. Ended up producing the most amount of tomatoes we'd ever produced. And at the end of the day, when you added it all up, it still didn't really make money for you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of sad in a way that the best crop, best looking crop, the crop that gave you the biggest quantity, at the end of the day, it just didn't add up financially to keep doing it. And we were all, I'd say that last year and a half, maybe even 2 years of tomatoes, we had some things come up. I mean, within that time, I had a child that was, of course, you need more family time then. We had employee, really the main employee that was handling the tomatoes got pneumonia. He was out for like 2.5 months, I think it was.
Oh,
and
wow.
it just became a jungle in there. We just had lots of different things that like I said, this was all prior to that last crop, but it was kind of like, oh man, if we can't make it on this last crop and get things dialed in, then it's just not going to work. And like I said, we got things dialed in. We thought it was all good, and it was. And then added up the money later, so to speak, and things just didn't add up,
Yeah, when you ran your enterprise budgets or enterprise recap budgets at the end of the year, it just didn't pay off for itself. What kind of pricing were you getting for your wholesale tomatoes at that point?
Okay, let me think. That's gonna
Tax you a bit.
Yeah, because that feels like it's so long now, especially after this year that we've had. We were selling, so we did them in 10-pound flats.
Yep.
The beefsteaks, we did, I want to say $25 for a 10-pound flat.
Okay.
The heirloom tomatoes, we did $35, I believe, for a 10-pound flat. The cherry tomatoes, we did, I believe they were like somewhere around $30 for a 10-pound flat. I want to say that's at least close. If not, I may be off by $5 or so on the cherries, but that's the ballpark of them. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, those are even decent prices too. And it's it's interesting that you weren't able to make it work with that system. All right. Well, that's very interesting. So let's talk a little bit more about the lettuce then. If you're just growing one crop, and I've seen the pictures, you're doing a lot of different colors and shapes and stuff. What kind of different products are you offering with your lettuce?
So we've got, our one main product that we really try to push is we call it our mix lettuce. And it contains usually at least 4 different types of lettuce. We try to make sure that each box has a red smooth, a green smooth, a red curly, and a green curly.
Okay.
Just in our mind, when you think of a mixed lettuce, you've got lots of different textures and lots of colors. So that's kind of our main product that we try to push. And then we also do increasingly, I would say increasingly this year over 2020, we've done a lot more wholesale bib.
Okay.
And wholesale romaine. And then we also do, our business has greatly picked up with what we do, a mixed clamshell and a bib clamshell.
Very cool. And is that because of the COVID has just kind of changed your marketing outlets and just the different crops that people have been looking for?
So we had always done some clamshells to 2 or 3 grocery stores usually, so occasionally a 4th one.
Okay.
And And then with COVID, I mean, it jumped so drastically. I think in March, I think February's clamshells were something like a total of it was something maybe like 70 or 80 clamshells for the whole month. And these are like clamshell cases, like a 12 count clamshell cases.
Yep.
It jumped from maybe like 70 or 80 cases to, in March, it was, I want to say, like 270. So
Wow.
it was such a dramatic increase, and it stayed that high just up until recently. It started to dip down with the clamshells, but and it's so funny. It's just like you never know what's going to happen, because we spent I would say the past 2 years trying to go completely wholesale. Getting rid of the tomatoes was part of it. We were kind of always doing less and less clamshells. We have one Whole Foods account, so it was most of the clamshells were going to them, and then our local grocer here in our small town. But then, of course, like everybody else, 2020 hit, COVID-19 hit, and it's just the exact opposite. We actually opened the farm back up. We used to do a farmer's market every Saturday here at the farm. We have a nice porch setting off of our main office, and we just set up a nice little, almost kind of like a road front farmer's market. And we used to do that all the time, and that's how a lot of the produce got moved originally. And like I said, we wanted to move away from that because it was just not enough bang for the buck, I guess you'd say. And we definitely went totally toward that, selling directly to the public even through most of this year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so the wholesale market has just fallen off, or is it just the retail market has grown so much that it just increased your production overall?
Yeah. So initially in March, the wholesale market completely fell off.
Okay.
I mean, there was, the first week or two, it was more or less like no restaurants, no, well, I wouldn't say no grocery stores. The grocery stores were ordering more, actually. No restaurants though. And so, we're sitting here with, looking at lettuce that's got to come out, and, it's like, okay, well, we got to bag this stuff up into individual bags and sell it to the public directly. And there's a farm right next door to us that's more or less on the same property, and they do a CSA, and so we started putting it in their CSA, and then I'm sure you've heard a lot of people around the country doing the like the weekly farm boxes that started up. A lot of people started doing those. Absolutely. And so they really our neighbor farmers, they kind of started their CSA early. It was more or less the weekly farm boxes, and we basically did that conjoined with them for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we said, okay, we need to start our own, and we think we can reach some other folks by having our own. And so we started aggregating products as well. But yeah, we were still selling lettuce to them to go into their farm boxes, into their regular CSA boxes as well, and then also into our, quote unquote farm boxes. So yeah, we were just scrambling, trying to find a way to get rid of it and to sell it, try to make as much money on it as possible. Because we were having to donate not, I wouldn't say a lot, but we did donate a good bit to charities in the area.
Absolutely. So talk to me about how you got started farming. What was your background?
So I've been involved with, playing with plants and having my hands in the dirt and being in the yard or whatever, my whole life. kind of jokingly tell people that when I was about 11 or 12, I kicked my parents out of the yard and told them I was going to handle it from now on. I knew from an early age that I wanted to do something with plants. I want to do something outside. And I always, we always grew at least a small garden. Always helped my neighbors with their gardens, helped my grandparents with their gardens. And in junior high school, I built a little, makeshift greenhouse and did spring veggie starts and sold those to people in my area. And then going to community college for 2 years, still trying to figure out, what do I want to do? How do I want to go about this? Or do I really want to, do something with plants? A lot of people that are involved where I'm from with, quote unquote plants, or, they get into the nursery business, they get into landscaping. And I had kind of had my fill of that, of just working in people's yards through high school. Like I said, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I guess it was my first year of college. I read Michael Pollan's In Defense of Food, and was taking I believe it was some sort of voluntary class. It, didn't count for any kind of credits or anything like that. That we talked about the current food system, and about how a lot of modern food is void of nutrients comparatively of how a lot of foods that's found in the wild, and that sort of thing. So it just really, I guess you say, captivated me and captured me, and drew my interest into farming specifically,
Okay.
not just, ornamentals, but specifically growing food. And so, yeah, I just, I ended up continuing my college career at Mississippi State, and getting a horticulture degree. I still at that point didn't have a whole lot of experience, with farming. At least looking back, I would say that. I had a lot of experience growing plants, grew lots of plants, knew how to grow stuff. But Mississippi State, being the kind of college it is, it focuses more on like, bigger agricultural row cropping and that sort of thing. But it was incredible to pick the minds of those professors and see where that intersection of organics, because that's kind of when I was in college, that was kind of a big. It was just kind of starting, I guess you could say, starting to kind of take root in Mississippi then. Farms in the area were starting to sprout up, and it was kind of hot button debate on campus then, and there were lots of professors that had interesting opinions of organic versus conventional, and all that sort of thing. So I had lots of I learned a lot from the professors, various professors there at State. But yeah, so I finished up there. And in community college, I met my now wife. We actually went to separate schools to finish college, and dated long distance dated, and we both decided we were get married when we finished college. And so we both graduated in December 2015, got married January 2016, and both started working the next week. So I was kind of under a crunch between October 2015 and January to find a job. She had got a job already in the Jackson, Mississippi area, and so that's where I started looking. And just so happened that a classmate of mine at Mississippi State had interned for Lee and Jamie here at Salad Days the preceding summer, and he said, "Yeah, why don't you call up these guys? They're doing hydroponics, growing lettuce and tomatoes. You would probably like it." So I just cold called them and chatted with them, come for a visit, and they told me to come whenever, basically whenever the honeymoon was over, and they would see what I was made of. So I've been here ever since.
Very cool. That's a very cool story. So you mentioned the organic aspect of going to school and learning that aspect. What's your thoughts on the I guess the current disagreement or thoughts on is hydroponic organic or not?
Yeah, I would be happy to speak to that. So we are not organic at Salad Days. I do believe that there is, in my opinion, there seems to be some confusion about and different lines in the sand, I guess you could say, drawn about what is organic and what isn't. And I understand all of that. So I think you can be organic and hydroponic because it goes back to what you're putting in the plants. If you're using an organic fertilizer, then an organic media to start those plants, then I would say that you're organic. If you're using organic sprays, that anything that touches the food, the plants, then I would say you're organic. I do understand people's concerns about it not being grown in the soil. I do have a passion for growing things in the soil. I plant more stuff in my yard than I can take care of.
Yeah.
because I don't get my hands actually in the soil at work. I mean, for me, it's not an either or. It's all encompassing. It's that we all need. I mean, how should I say it? Now, I guess not to sound like cuddly or anything, but we all kind of need each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean,
how can we work together instead of being divisive?
Yeah. I mean, like I said before, talking about my big row crop professors at State. I mean, they knew about cotton and soybeans and corn and rice, but I could still learn something from them. And just because they didn't think, or some of them didn't think there was much to be said for organic farming or gardening or what have you, doesn't mean that the knowledge that they had was just to be, not to be listened to or thrown away or whatever. So yeah, I mean, we're clear to tell people that we are not certified organic. That's because the nutrients that we use are not labeled as organic. The sprays we use are labeled organic. They're all OMRI approved.
Okay.
But yeah, we're very open and upfront about what we are, and we like I said, it's kind of different people have their own definitions because it's such a fluid thing, I guess you could say. But that's where we try to plant our flag, I guess.
Gotcha. So talk to me, do you use any beneficial insects in the houses to manage like aphids and that sort of thing?
We definitely have before. Now, since we've I'll say we did with the tomatoes.
Okay.
And we felt better doing it with the tomatoes because it's hard to for a ladybug to get mixed in with a tomato. You can see it.
Yes. Yeah.
Versus ladybug, for example, can hide down in a head of lettuce. And that may not be a big. I mean, that for us personally, that's not a big deal. I mean, I would just pick it out and eat it. Eat the lettuce.
Yeah.
But we don't want that getting to the restaurants and then somebody going, oh, okay, there's bugs in this. So yeah, we have not used any since we've been we've been out of the tomato business. But I believe there's a beneficial mite that's like tiny that we've I know we used it on the tomatoes for I think it was for thrips.
Okay, or maybe spider mites
specifically, or maybe the spider mites. And then we've had a few thrips on this lettuce here through the summer, and there was a little bit of conversation about some beneficial insects, but we took care of it without having to get into the beneficials with Omri spray. So yeah.
Gotcha. Joining us for our marketing tip of the week is Cole Jones from Local Line. Cole, we want to talk all about home delivery. Talk to us. Why is that important for farmers?
Hey, Michael. Obviously, it's more important now than it ever has been, given the circumstances around the pandemic. We also know that it's increasingly more important because as we change seasons, you're going to have less folks coming outside to markets and doing pickups, and probably more folks that are looking for home delivery. And so we've built out a whole bunch of content at Local Line on how to actually set up profitable home delivery for the first time, if you're doing it for the first time for your farm. Step number one is figuring out your cost of delivery. This is typically done on a per hour basis. So what we want to do is we want to figure out how much it's costing you each hour to have your truck on the road, right? What's the all-in cost? Once you know that, you can actually figure out what your minimum order value is to break even and what your projected minimum order value would need to be to hit any target profit goals that you would have. And then that's basically how you design out how to offer home delivery. Is you want to first establish what the appropriate minimum order is. And once you have that, focus very intensely on as much density as possible. So the best thing to do is to not focus on 10 or 20 different neighborhoods. It's really to just focus in on one or two places and try to get as dense there as possible, because the more density that you have in your delivery routes, the more profitable each drop or each delivery is going to be.
And then obviously you want to maximize the amount of products you're delivering. So if you're just offering like microgreens, delivering $12 of microgreens is going to cost you a lot. But if you're offering $40 or $50 like mixed box, that's going to be a heck of a lot more profitable.
Absolutely. And that's where the minimum order value comes in, right? And I think that's what you want to understand first is, all right, if it costs me, $65 an hour to have my truck on the road, and I know that I can do 3 deliveries per hour or whatever it is, as an example, right? Then my break even is going to be, $6 or $22 per order. And of course, we're not in this to break even. We're in this to make money. And so we need to figure out, okay, how do we get, as an example, that box value to maybe $30, right? That's a really, really critical first step. We do see a lot of farms jump into home delivery because they know that they can get orders. But I think that if those orders aren't structured in a way that it's profitable for you, it's probably not a good sustainable, long-term thing.
Absolutely.
But we do have a delivery cost calculator and we have a minimum order value calculator, all based on home delivery. These are on our website, but I think maybe, Michael, what we can do is we can link them in the show notes so that people can see them there.
Absolutely. So if you go to www.thrivingfarmerpodcast.com and type in this episode, we will link those right in the show notes so people can quickly and easily find that. Thanks, Cole.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the process from, you seeding the seed all the way to harvesting the lettuce. Does the seeding get done in like a smaller greenhouse area? Does it actually happen out in the big greenhouse? How does that happen?
Yeah. So
And are you growing
we
like in rockwood cubes?
we grow in an Oasis media.
Okay.
Have you seen that yet?
No, I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay, so basically it's the same media. It's a little bit less dense,
Okay.
but it's the same media as the Oasis flower arranging foam.
Oh, okay. Yep. I understand.
Yeah, and from what I understand, it's the same company. I could be wrong there, but I believe it's the same company. I know they're both called Oasis. So it's less dense than the flower foam, and we found that it works better. It's a little bit, those cubes are a little bit taller. They work better for our NFT system, just
Okay.
in general. There's a little bit of residue that we get off of them that we try to leach out of the trays before we seed. But it's still some in the system, and I think that adds a little bit to one of the big problems that we've found so far with our system is biofilm.
Yes.
And it's such a jolly thing to see. Nobody. It's kind of funny because nobody sells it seems like nobody sells a hydroponic system or makes anything that's easy to clean. And so you're kind of left with, everything, we're growing. There's algae starting to grow in these pipes. How do we clean it out? And then you're left with trying to figure that out. So, I'm sorry, I'm getting off your question. So we start the seeding in what we call our head house.
Okay.
We will wet down the Oasis cubes so that they're consistently moist.
Yep.
And drain off any extra water if we need to. So you got a wet media there. Go ahead and drop in the seed. We do this by hand.
Okay.
So I guess surprisingly, it doesn't take as long as you think it would, especially with two people doing it. We try not to get a ton of people doing it because we have found that the more people that do it, the more error there is. What am I trying to say? The more error that you get. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So, because people like to, sit around and chat and catch up or whatever, and then you've forgotten how many seeds you put in each cube. So
yes. Yeah. Okay. So they go in the cube. How long are they in the head house for?
Depends on the time of the year. Like right now, it's no big deal to seed them and just go ahead and take them straight out into the greenhouse, and they can be left on the. We have bread carts.
Okay.
That we just stack them. They have shelves, and we just stack the trays up on, and they don't need light for the first 2 days basically while they germinate, and then so either you can take them straight out to the greenhouse in the cooler months. In the warm months, like what we just got out of, you want to leave them in the head house in the air conditioning for about 2 days, I would say.
Okay. Now, when in the summer, do you have your greenhouses with wet walls to keep the cooler, or how do you manage the heat in the summer?
Yeah, so we have wet walls. Some people call them swamp coolers, I believe, and
Yep.
They go the whole length of the whole greenhouse, the whole back of the greenhouse.
Wow.
I believe they're like 4 or 5 foot in height. And so they give you a pretty good column of air, is the idea of that anyway, that the exhaust fans on the opposite side of the greenhouses, when they're on, they pull air through this wall of it's a cardboard material that's been waxed basically, and water drips over it, and when air gets pulled through it, it humidifies the air, which cools the air, which cools the plants, and it's basically a somewhat of an air conditioning system. Now in this part of the country, when it's hot, it's hot. So there's, when you've got 90 to 100% humidity outside, you can't really cool it because it's already humid air that you're pulling through.
Yeah.
So you're kind of just stuck with the temperature that you've got. That's where shade cloth comes in.
Okay.
Now it was kind of a weird year for shade cloth because I started pulling off. We put on some new shade cloth, experimented with some white shade cloth to go over the outside of the greenhouses. Historically, we have used, we've only used shade cloth inside, and we just suspend it basically inside the greenhouse. So that to us, in our mind, it was a bigger task to have a massive shade cloth that's 33 feet wide by 90 or basically 100 feet long that you're having to kind of manhandle, and get over the roof. In the long run, it ended up not being a big deal. Actually, I think it was easier to do the shade cloth over the outside. However, we found that with the age of our roofs, or at least my theory is with the age of our roofs, which are, I believe, 6 years old now, that basically they're aged so much right now. They're cloudy, basically, to the point that that I had to take off that new shade cloth. And
Gotcha.
what I did is we only got new shade cloths for 3 of the 6 bays. So I took off those 3 cloths and got 3. It's basically it will cover the aisles and a little bit of the lettuce, I guess you could say, and put those up inside, going down the aisles of those 3 bays, if that makes sense. And what that does is it gives you a moving shadow through the day.
Okay.
And so it was enough to reduce the heat, but it didn't give us too much shade. So I know that's kind of odd, and like I said, this is the first year we've really dealt with that. I think if we had completely new roofs, then the new white shade cloth, and I think that new white shade cloth, I think it's 50% reduction in light. That would probably be the ticket if we had all new.
Have you done anything with the silver shade cloth?
Yeah. Actually, the silver shade cloth is what we what's it called? Not Agribond is what really Agribond, the frost protection cloth is what we originally used inside because it was so cheap, and you can just cut it to whatever size you want, and just basically put as many layers up and whatever as you want. And then I guess 2, maybe 3 years ago, Illuminate, that's the word I'm looking for. We got the Illuminate, and we got the Illuminate to cover 2 of the original 3 bays of lettuce, but we wanted to use it inside. So the way that our structural poles are inside the greenhouses, we had to get it in basically three different runs to cover. Basically one covers 10 feet, the other covers 10 feet, the other covers the other 10 feet, and they're all 96 feet long.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Talk to us a little bit about the nutrient solution, because that's a very important part of your system there. How often is it pumped through I'm assuming they're in like tracks, or how are the lettuce? Are they in I forget what it's called that they're set into? Oh,
the NFT channels.
Yes, channels. Yeah. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people say gutters. We tend to say channels. So whatever. Yeah. So yeah, it's a recirculating system. So we have a tank in the back of the greenhouse essentially. And we've got 2 pumps. One pump handles 3 of the bays. The other pump handles the other 3 bays. And it's pumped up to a noodle, basically what we call a noodle. I forget the size of those. It's like the vinyl tubing.
Yes. Yep. Like a little 1/8 inch or something.
That's it. Yep. That's it. Yep. And the noodle just goes right. There's a hole at the top of the channel, and so from that point, it's just gravity that takes it down. The channels are all set on a slope, and the drain pipe is set on a slope to go back to the tank. And so from the point that the water goes in the channel, it's all gravity back to the tank, and it just recirculates. And then as the plants take up water and nutrients, and they transpire, it evaporates, there's leaks, what have you, then our source water is on a oh gosh, what's
Like
the valve?
The
Hudson valve. That's
Yep.
exactly what it is, Hudson valve. And so it just refills itself. And then we have a Blue Lab dosetronic that corrects the pH and the EC.
Okay. And for correcting the pH, you're using citric acid or sulfuric acid?
Sulfuric. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's just basically dripped in with a specific rate that you know is what the plants need, or the
That's
water,
right.
the water needs. Okay. All right. And what's your cycle time?
So cycle time as in like for a batch?
Yes. Yeah. From seed to cell.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So right now, I was actually looking at these numbers because I thought that you might be asking about these. For 2020, from the first week of the year to week 44, which was last week.
Okay.
The average number of days from seed to harvest is 55 days.
Okay.
And we're actually up 7 days from the average of the same time in 2019. But our weight per position or head, if you want to say, is up by an ounce and a half. So I guess trade off,
Yes. Yeah. You're trying to get a little bit bigger of a head. And
right.
It takes a little bit longer. Okay.
Right.
So talk to me about the team you have, because it's not just you running the operation, right?
Oh, no. So first and foremost, Lee and Jamie are my bosses. They are the owners and operators.
Okay.
Because they're definitely active. They're here every day. They they do anything from actually running running the business, making sure taxes are paid, people are paid, all that sort of thing, to if I need them to pick lettuce, then they're right there. So I've got Lee and Jamie, myself, of course. I've got 2 other full-time employees, and then I've got 5 additional part-time employees.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you have quite a team. And what does the week schedule look like? So when does most of your product go out? Are you doing different things on every day, or is it pretty the same thing every day?
Yeah. So the schedule that has worked out, for the past, I'd say 2 months or so, because it has changed a lot over the course of this year. Sundays, I end up spending about at least an hour, maybe 2 hours, just looking over the crop, planning, seeing what needs to be picked on Monday. And then also just checking systems, making sure, everything's still getting water, the fans are working, whatever.
Absolutely.
And then usually Jamie or Lee are they're up here in the morning, Sunday morning to check, and I'm usually here Sunday evening to check. And then so Mondays are usually a really big picking day. So that's picking the lettuce out of the channels, that's packing it into wholesale boxes or clamshells to go to the grocery stores, or bagging it so that we can sell it directly to consumers. And then you got to clean up. So we sweeping is a really big thing here. We sweep something every day, and so we got to sweep up the floor. We got to clean the channels, sanitize them, and then transplant new plants into those channels. So we try to do that. If we pick, we try to, say if we pick something today, we try to get it cleaned today, and we try to get it transplanted today so that things don't build up,
Yeah. And you're always keeping the greenhouse at 100% capacity, right? Is that also the goal?
Exactly. I can remember when I first started here, mid-January of 2016, and taking pictures and looking back at those pictures, and we would just have just empty channels, or just like, it's so crazy to think about now, or just like half-picked channels. And it's like, it's amazing how much your business evolves and how much you learn over time. So on Tuesdays, we do a little more picking. On Mondays, we may pick 120 channels.
Okay.
And each channel has got 18 positions in it. And then on Tuesdays, we may pick, 50 to 80 channels, depending on what's needed. And Mondays tend to be the day to pick and pack wholesale orders. And then Tuesdays tend to be the day to pick and pack for clamshelling and retail, basically.
Okay.
And then same stuff on Tuesday. If you pick, then you clean up and you transplant.
Okay. So how are you finding the people that you're hiring? How do you build a great team?
Well, it's most of the people that have stuck around and seem to enjoy it, they have kind of found us. It's almost kind of like my own story. I heard about the farm and gave them a call, and things worked out. But we definitely do not have a good recipe, I guess you would say, for that we could share with anybody else to find, I don't even know if I want to say qualified people, but I guess for a better term, qualified people. But we've tried social media, and most of the time it just ends up when you put a job out there, you kind of end up wasting your time and their time, because I guess a lot of people don't fully understand what the scope of what we're asking to do in a job posting. And it just, you really, I've gotten to the point where I say, like, somebody wants a job, okay, tell them to come out, we'll work them for a day and see what they think at the end of the day, or see what we think at the end of the day, because you just really don't know. I mean, I've been surprised by some people, and then I've been, both ways. I've been surprised that, oh, this person is a good worker, or this person isn't a good worker, so you just don't know until they start. And basically everybody that starts working for us, they more or less start like picking lettuce. Like that's kind of the entry level job, I guess you could say. So we do not have a good recipe for it yet.
Okay. So it's been a challenge, but you're working on it.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about, you've been in this job for a bit now. You've seen some things come and go. Let's talk about beginning farmers. if you were to start over again, how would you start? I mean, obviously you're working for someone, so it's a little bit different than starting your own operation, but what would you say, you've seen some of the people that have come, the mistakes they've made?
For me, I guess one of the hardest things for me, in my situation, being a farmer, my wife and I are further away from family.
Okay.
Then I guess not further away than we thought we would be early on in our marriage, but especially having a child now, it makes things more challenging. But thankfully, I've got great bosses that are essentially my family here.
Okay.
And so I would say to anybody that it's important who you work for. Get to know them and make sure that they're good people, because they quite frankly could turn into your family.
Okay.
Am I answering your question? Okay.
Let's move it a little bit and talk about that the employee relationship. What things do your bosses do to make you successful?
Yeah, I would say that they've helped me a lot in managing people. I would not say that I am a natural manager.
Okay.
I tend to be a person that would rather, be touching the plant all day and just kind of by myself.
Okay.
So they've definitely, they both have a background in real estate, so they're really good with people, and I've learned a lot from them, how to say hard things to people, and just in general how to manage people. I don't, I can figure out a system, especially one that's, I feel like we have it easier at times than a lot of farmers, because, the recipe is kind of there for, you put this plant in and grow it for this long. And, if you need a spray or whatever, and then you pick it this time, and it's not, this is the acreage or this is the square footage you have, you don't have to think about plowing up another area or whatever. So I can handle, I've gotten the growing system down, I guess you could say, but I still do struggle with managing people. I'm a natural, unfortunately, I guess to some extent, I'm a natural people pleaser. I want to tell people what they want to hear, and sometimes that can be detrimental to getting a job done. So
yes,
they've helped me a lot in that regard. And then just in life, trying to being I mean, this is my first job out of college, and they've just been great people to me and my wife.
Yeah, that's great. Let's wrap this up here a bit. If you could pick
Sure.
one, what would be your favorite farming tool?
Ooh, I think I thought about this, and to some degree, I kind of don't want to say like, the main thing that come to my mind with what I'm doing is plastic.
Okay.
Which I, on one hand, I'm kind of like, oh man, that's like, I don't want to be that guy that says something like that. But, without plastic, we wouldn't have a growing area. I mean, from what's covering the plants above to what's covering the ground below, what the water is running through, the PVC pipes. There's just so much that, plastics give us the option to do. And
yes.
so I would say, yeah, plastic is probably my favorite.
Okay. All right. Do you believe that now is the best time to be starting a farm? And if so, why?
I don't know if I could say that starting a farm is right for everyone right now.
Okay.
I think that any time, the present time is a great time for anybody to grow something. If you have a windowsill, grow something in it, on it. But yeah, it's just it's a big question of whether everybody should, if anybody that walked up to me, said, "Hey, I was thinking about starting a farm," I would have lots of big questions for them. And actually, Lee and Jamie, they got to the point where they have started more or less a consulting side business, because they get so many inquiries about people wanting to interested in starting, like putting up a small greenhouse, or putting up something in their backyard and selling to grocery stores or farmers markets or whatever, and they want to do it hydroponically, and so they started charging basically for their time, as they should.
Yes.
And instead of having to spend 4 or 5 hours with somebody just like pulling questions out of them. So we've had people come by and pay for a visit basically. And I do remember one time a couple came out, and they paid for 2 days, and they left at the end of the first day and said, keep the money for the second day, because I've learned everything I need to know that I don't want to do this. So to that, I'd say that a little bit of money well spent to answer a few questions can answer that question of if now is a good time for you to start a farm or not.
Yeah. So the advice you would give someone is, hey, go talk to some farmers, go get some advice from someone who's actually doing it to make sure before you start to spend the time and effort and money in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Where can people find out more about you and follow you?
So just personally, I have a Facebook page. I guess I don't really post. I'm not as active as I used to be on there, but it's still there. Just it's my name, Ethan Norvell. And then the farm has a Facebook page as well that's pretty active, Salad Days Produce. And farm also has an Instagram account, I believe under the same name. And then we also have a website.
Okay.
Also by the same name.
Yeah. So that would just be, what would the web URL?
Saladdaysproduce.com.
Okay, very cool. Well, Ethan, thank you so much for spending this time with us. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing about what it's like to be a hydroponic farmer at a little bit of scale there. And appreciate your time and reaching out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Michael.
Looking to start or grow your farm business? You need a compelling farm plan that you can share with investors, convince your significant other with, or just to give yourself peace of mind. We have created a new program called the Start Your Farm Intensive. In it, you'll learn how to develop your farm idea to make sure you take all the factors into consideration for your context and your climate. You'll learn how to craft a one-page business plan that helps clearly define your target customer and lay out the necessary characteristics of your business. You will understand the 3 financial documents that every farm needs to fill out to make sure you are making money. And we'll give you all that as templates too, so you have the templates to fill out for your farm business. We'll also go through funding, so where to go for funding for the various stages and parts of your business. Starting a farm is hard. Starting a farm without a proven plan is almost impossible. Join us today. Go to growingfarmers.com/start for more information. Now, what did past students have to say? Corey says, the exercises and spreadsheets helped me make the learning process easier and more real. Jenna says, I gained the support system and resources I needed for when I'm ready for the next step. And finally, the worksheets make you think out every aspect of the business step by step. Go ahead, join us today, growingfarmers.com/start. Hey, Thriving Farmers, Michael Kilpatrick here. Join me as I interview Michelle Patton next week, who is not only a farmer out in the West, but she also does bookkeeping and consulting for farmers on their finances. So we talk all things from actually financing your farm and buying equipment. We talk about employees, we talk about 1099s, we talk all things about bookkeeping, and it's a kind of wide-ranging conversation, but one you'll definitely enjoy if you have a farm business. So there you have it, another episode in the books. So I'd love if you would hop on over to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. Those mean everything to us. We love to hear what you're thinking. If you have a podcast guest that you can recommend, please pop on over to the Thriving Farmer Podcast website and leave us a review. That's thrivingfarmerpodcast.com.